Welcome to this presentation on the stages of team development with our research question, are the development stages moving only in one direction? Please feel free to pause this presentation or play back a slide as needed. My name is John Cook, and I'm the instructor. I've formed my own team, G, for the purpose of this research presentation. The sequence of this research presentation is as shown on the slide. My research question is, are the stages of team development in only one direction? The scope of this research is to focus on the life cycle of teams in the first 4 stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Sources of the research are 3 textbooks and 5 websites as described at the end of this presentation in the references. Where we are going with this presentation, a bottom line up front, is that team leaders and members should be prepared to go forward and back through the stages as needed, based upon conditions when actually managing the team. A unique word I will use in this presentation is ubiquitous, which means to appear or to be present or found everywhere. The background information I desire you to know at the beginning is as follows. The field of study entitled Organizational Development, or OD, is the study of successful organizational change and performance. OD emerged from human relations studies in the 1930s, during which psychologists realized that organizational structures and processes influence worker behavior and motivation. The Department of the Army adopted OD for its use with a change in the title to Organizational Effectiveness, or OE. This program was used to implement OD into Army management practices during the 1970s and 80s. The explanation at the time was that the Army organizations are already developed, they just need to be more effective. The author was a member of the OE program in 1978 and 9 in a large military organization and has applied its principles during a 40-year career in leadership, management, and education. Let's begin our presentation of the research with the results of the literature search. As shown on the screen, here is Exhibit 12.3 from Chapter 12 of the textbook by Daft and Marsick. As can be seen by the arrow, the descriptions are progressive in a linear fashion in one direction. The creator of the concept of the stages of team development was Dr. Bruce W. Tuckman. He presented the results of his studies into the Developmental Sequence in Small Groups in June of 1965 in the Psychological Bulletin of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Tuckman's work with our key diagram was part of a larger body of knowledge called organizational development. The founding father of organizational development, or OD, was Dr. Kurt Lewin. We owe a debt of gratitude for the research and concepts the OD researchers have provided with regards to management and organizational leadership. Let's now review several textbooks beyond the courses book, plus some websites, and see how they present Tuckman's team development model. The textbook Management by Dr. Schermerhorn, as shown on this slide, presents the stages as shown. A key takeaway is that it is progressive from forming to adjourning. This screenshot is from a management consulting organization's website, projectmanagement.com, describing the stages of team development. A key takeaway is that it is progressive from forming to adjourning. Let's review a few more websites that also have the stages of team development. If you do a web search for stages of team development or Tuckman diagrams, you'll see how ubiquitous this topic is. This screenshot is from a management consulting organization, teamwork.com, describing the stages of team development. This graphic form is easy to understand, and we'll use it again shortly. The key takeaway is that it is progressive from forming to adjourning. Let's go international. Here is another handout from the Aurora organization in the United Kingdom. Let's expand the diagram. This graphic example again is helpful, describing the stages of team development. Here comes the key takeaway, that it is progressive from forming to adjourning. I'm sensing a pattern here. This screenshot is from a text by Kanicki used in Management 332 on organizational theory and behavior, again describing the stages of team development. And note that it is progressive from forming to adjourning. Let's now summarize the literature search on the topic of the stages of team development. Shown on this slide is a graphic representation and words from the exhibit provided in our courses textbook by Daft and Marsick. Let's add the cartoon diagrams from the teamwork.com website to review the first 4 major developmental steps of teams. On the left is the initial stage, forming. Here, an orientation on the compelling purpose of the team is provided, and the members are getting to know one another. Once the stage is completed, we can move to the second stage, storming. In the storming stage, there is potential conflict and disagreement on the meaning of the purpose and how to achieve it. Plus, there is jockeying for position and who does what role and why. As the issues are resolved, we move to the next stage, norming. Norming is where the hard work of storming pays off, hopefully, with order and cohesion, plus clarity of roles. You do those things well that you coordinate and practice well. The team may now move on to the next stage, performing. Performing is the highest stage of achievement, as the compelling purpose and implementing objectives are met through mutual cooperation and task accomplishment. If the team is temporary or special one-time purpose, or if there is an organizational change, then the team may move to the final adjourning stage, which is beyond the scope of the study. That is a summary of the literature search and how the readers of the textbooks and websites might interpret what they will find. Question: is that how it works in the field? Let's now review some findings in our personal field research and application. Are the developmental stages in one direction? Questions: is the progression always linear in one direction, from forming to performing? What if the conditions change? What about changes, and with what impacts? Let's now focus on the first question. Is the progression only in one direction, forming to performing? What if the direction could also go the other way? From performing back through norming and storming to forming. What if the conditions change? You adjust, slide, back and forth across the stages as needed, based upon the conditions. What would cause the needed sliding back down the progression stages? What type of changes in the team environment would be needed? With what impacts? I would propose that slight changes in resources might necessitate the team to move back to the norming stage to plan, rehearse, and agree on new procedures caused by personnel absences and different people taking on new or different roles, or changes in time available and schedules, funds or materials, tools, and equipment. The revised team might need to norm again to get up to performing speed. Significant changes may necessitate that a team move back even farther. Examples might be a change in a major task or procedure, changes in the resources such as a key worker, or, for development, a leader in training. Some key roles or relationships might have to be developed or hammered out. And again, major changes in time, money, or things. The team may need to move to storming to have the needed robust dialogue. Now we're going to talk about major changes. The compelling purpose changes. The reason the team gelled together. Major changes in the external conditions. And of course, personal transitions. Old members leave and new members join. While the rest of the team stays the same, the loss or gain of people might and probably will necessitate the moving to the forming stage to deal with the personnel turnover. Leaders and teams understand that it is time to form again and progressively build your team. Now let's see if we can gather up these lessons learned and correlate and synthesize them into something team leaders and members may use. This presentation is just the beginning of the study of the life cycle of a team and its 5 stages of development. 3 follow-on studies could be: what would be the proper leadership actions during the adjourning stage? What would be the team leader's unique skills needed in each stage, especially as they apply their soft power? What would be the actions of a good team member in each stage to support the team and its leaders as the developmental stages need changing? Questions worth answering. The first finding or takeaway of the study was that the 5 progressive stages of team development are a valid method to initially learn this valuable concept in team management. This diagram and others like it are adequate to initially present the concept of team progression and to present those stages of progression. Secondly, team leaders and members should be prepared to go forward and back through the stages as needed based upon conditions when actually managing the team. Thirdly, as shown, when there are changes in purpose, external conditions, personnel changes in development, and other resources, team leaders and members should make the appropriate adjustments to eventually bring the team to peak performance. So, finding number 3 is that leaders and followers must be sensitive to the types of changes within the team and make the necessary adjustments as to the needed stage for eventual team progression. Based upon this research presented, we may conclude with regards to the stages of team development that the 5 progressive stages are a valid method to initially learn this valuable concept in team management, and the team leaders and members should be prepared to go forward and back through the stages as needed based upon conditions when actually managing the team. Our thesis may then be that the team development stages may move either direction based upon the type and intensity of the changes in conditions purpose, and resources available. 2 recommendations are offered by this study. First, do learn the 5 stages of team development in a team's life cycle in a progressive style, and then apply that knowledge as a team leader or member by sensing changes in the team's conditions, purpose, and resources, and adjust across the stages as needed. I'll be glad to take questions in or after class or by email. The references used in this study are as shown on this slide. Thank you for your kind attention. Again, I'll be glad to answer questions in or after class or by email. This concludes the presentation on the stages of team development. Are the development stages in more than one direction?